Hello, everyone, and welcome to my diversity field experience. I'm very excited today to share this experience with you. For my experience, I decided to explore the world of Sikhism. A little backstory and history about myself and why I chose to do this. On the left is a picture of me. My name is Brent Jahan Fairman. My middle name Jahan means of the world in Hindi. I was named after Shah Jahan, the creator of the Taj Mahal. I was born in Calcutta, India, and adopted when I was 2 months old. I was flown over to Minnesota and have lived in Minnesota ever since. However, being raised in white suburban Bloomington often left me sticking out a bit. In terms of religious affiliations, I was raised, baptized, and communed as a United Methodist, and I was very content with this through high school. I had a great social network from the church and still have a lot of friends that I made from those years today. However, after 9/11, I began to receive more racial profiling. I was pulled over very frequently, even though I was not speeding, never got a ticket. I was searched every time I tried to fly on an airplane. I find the middle picture very, very appropriate. Ignorant people used all sorts of racial slurs against me, even though I wasn't affiliated with any of those negative stereotypes or groups. But I have tough skin and just kind of bared the brunt of ignorance of people by not responding or walking. I just walked away. It still hurt, but there was no sense engaging since it wasn't even my ethnicity they were insulting. I figured they were the uninformed or misinformed, and I'd just leave it at that. But I realized that I was very uninformed as well, especially after August 5th. White supremacists attacked a Sikh temple in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, and killed 6 people and wounded 4 before committing suicide. And I realized that I knew basically nothing about Sikhs, even though I was born in the area in India where Sikhism is a major religion, and this really bothered me. So when I was weighing ideas for a diversity experience, this thought came forward again. And I was fortunate enough to coordinate with the communications lead, Ricky, at the Sikh temple in Bloomington, and I arranged to visit and interact with the Sikh community and find out about different aspects of their lives and religions and how they incorporate their living in Minnesota. And I think the biggest question I wanted to know is, did they feel safe practicing their religion here in Minnesota? So on a Sunday, I arrived, and upon entering, I removed my shoes at the door and placed them in a shoe rack. We were also instructed to put on a headscarf or covering. The picture over here shows a full headscarf, but mine was simply a blue bandana that you'll see in later pictures. After completing the initial getting in the door, I was given a tour by Manjeet, or Ricky as he likes to be called. As we were touring various places in the temple, Ricky was very helpful in explaining a bit about Sikhism and this temple in general. Sikhism is from northern India. They originally formed in Fridley and moved when they outgrew the space. On a full congregation day, they have about 300 members. 95% are families, and they're first generation, second generation, and are just starting third generation. They don't recruit at all. They are very animate about not wanting to recruit. They say, come if you wish, all are welcome. And as we were walking around taking our tour, I got to talk to Ricky about what does it mean to be a male Sikh in his eyes. And he said, well, for me, a male Sikh will never cut their hair, ever, not even the ends trimmed, or their beard. And the head covering, everybody wears a head covering to show respect. But he also conceded that times are changing. Traditional Indian outfits were seen there, the full sari and the men's equivalent, all the way down to jeans and a Star Wars shirt. So he conceded that times are changing and they have to adapt as well. And so we continued our tour, and here are some pictures of the tour. This is the entryway, and it leads into the common room. This is where the tour started. We next went into the library, which is off of here. Photos weren't allowed in there. In this library, all the books were about Sikhism. Ricky told me that this is where the elders gather to do research and promote awareness of Sikhism. We next went into the Gurdwara, or gateway to the Guru. This is the picture on the right. In the Gurdwara is the altar where the holy book is placed. And if you look, there are television screens up here and here. The television screens during the service showed the chants in both Punjabi and English translations of what the Guru is chanting. And he will sit during the service over here on this. So after the tour, Ricky invited me to take part in the community breakfast, and he had to take care of some things, so he left, but explained to me that each week one family volunteers to serve both breakfast and longers, the community meal after the service. The breakfast consisted of rice, vegetarian samosas, and chickpeas. Over here. And while I was eating, I was chatting with a few people that arrived early, and we were listening to the Guru chant. It was mostly small talk about what I was doing there and if I was interested in joining the community since I was Indian. But as we were listening to the Guru, I realized that he was speaking the same words in different tunes and tempos, but the message was the same. And so I looked up on the board and wrote it down, and it said, "Meet the Lord of the universe. Now is the time to meet him." And so this went all the way from 10 to 11 a.m. At 11, some people began moving into the Gurdwara for prayer. The men sat on the left, women sat on the right. There was no separator, but they were separated by genders. People came and went as they pleased. Everyone who entered approached the altar through the center. They placed an offering and bowed, some an upright bow, some all the way down to the floor. After bowing, they would move over to where the Guru was chanting and place an offering there and bow as well. Then they would back up and take a seat on their respective sides. Children sat on either side regardless of gender. I found this part very fascinating. The children would continue to chase each other, yell, talk loudly, and just be children, and none of the adults paid them any mind. The service seemed very centered around the individual, that they were all deep in their prayer and meditation. At the beginning of the service, there were about 20 people in the Gurdwara. By 12:30, the Gurdwara had filled to about 200 people. The Guru would read from the Sikh scripture called Guru Granth Sahib. It is a collection of teachings and writings by Guru Nanak and other gurus, as well as Sikh, Hindu, and Muslim saints. The man next to me nicely informed me that the book is also referred to as the 11th Guru. This is when the book came about. The two chants that were chanted most often were "Meet the Lord of the Universe, now is the time to meet him," and "Oh my dear beloved Lord, your limits are not known." This would be followed by some scripture reading, followed by the chants. At the end of the service, there was a blessing called Kara Prasad, which is made of equal parts whole wheat flour, butter, and sugar. And here they are walking around, and they did walk around with bowls of it. It was cooked. They would hand it to you, place it in your hand, and you would eat it. After the blessing, we all stood up, and the Guru spoke in Punjabi, but it was not translated on the board, so I don't know what they were saying. And then everybody began to exit back into the community room for the community meal. Everyone sat on the floor in the community meal. People would come around with buckets filled with various Indian dishes. They were all vegetarian. On my plate on the right, I had chapati, rice with lentils, chickpeas, carrots, and peas in curry, chickpeas and tofu, Riata, which is Indian yogurt with cucumber, and these two yellow guys that I had no idea what they were. They were really tasty, but I had no idea what they were. At the longer, I used it more as a means for communication with the community. And we talked about many of the questions that I had. The biggest question of, do you feel safe practicing your religion even after the gunman targeted the Sikhs in Wisconsin? And every single person said, yes, we still feel safe. The more you know about Sikhism, and they explained it to me that they just want to practice their religion and not bother anyone. They are very peaceful and accepting of all. And the more we talked, it became very clear that each Sikh temple was a separate entity, that it was a large gathering of community, but each temple was a separate entity, that they didn't really communicate with the other Sikh temples. Another big question we discussed was, how do you the after 9/11, how has airport security affected them? And Sunrider told me that after 9/11, they worked a delegation from that church worked with the TSA agents about how to properly and respectfully screen a Sikh. If they want to swab a Sikh's turban, they should hand the swab to the Sikh, who will do it and hand it back. If a time comes that requires the removal of a turban, that a back room in private would be appropriate for them to take off their turban. And we all kind of had a good laugh about how they all get screened, we all get screened, and quote unquote random tested. Most times everybody flies. Um, a few people I spoke with were very interested as to why I came and visited, and were surprised to find out that I do not speak Punjabi, that I am not already a Sikh, or that I did not consider joining their temple, even though my middle name is Jahan, which they inform me is very common in North India and in the Sikh community. And that was very interesting to me. So overall, I think I spent about half the day immersed in the Sikh religion. I know quite a bit more about what it is like to be a Sikh and why they believe as they do, though I'm probably just getting to the tip of the iceberg. I think that if I had lived in India, this is a religion I would have gravitated towards, assuming my family was not already Sikhs. I find their acceptance of all very progressive, and that they just want to practice their religion in peace. That's very heartwarming to me. And I hope this presentation has provided you with a brief insight into something that may not be familiar. I wanted my diversity experience to really immerse myself into something and find out about it. And I was very happy that it could be Sikhism. And if any of you are interested in visiting as well, Ricky told me all are welcome. Thank you for watching.